Hi, I'm Morgan the Dragonfly, Merchandise Manager here at the Chapman Museum. Did you know our gift shop is home to the Chapman Crew, a whole collection of cuddly critters you can take home? Each plush friend has a name and a backstory inspired by local history. You might meet Zopher the Mouse or Glenn the Bat. And when you bring them home, you can even scan the QR code on their tag to watch special From the Collection episodes with your new buddy. Our small critters are just $15, and the large ones are $30. Stop in today and take home your very own member of the Chapman Crew. And now, on to our show. Well, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of From the Collection. We are excited to share some more interesting items from the Chapman Museum's collection with you today. My name is Becca, and I am the Program and Outreach Coordinator.
And my name is Maureen, and I'm the Curator.
And today, we're happy to welcome back Catherine the Mouse. Hello, everyone! It's so nice to be back!
Been up to anything recently, Catherine?
Oh, I had the most wonderful summer. Zopher surprised me with a road trip to the Great Escape.
A road trip? The Great Escape is just 15 minutes from here.
Maybe it's 15 minutes for you, but in a car, but sometimes it takes a mouse much longer.
Okay, good point, Catherine. I'm sorry. Was it a fun trip?
Oh, yes. We visited Storytown houses, said hello to the Timbertown gang, and then camped under the stars. Oh, it was so romantic.
Well, that sounds like a great trip, Catherine. And you know, I think you're really going to like today's episode.
Why is that?
Because today's episode is about accessories.
Ooh.
And as a very fashionable mouse, I think that the objects that we share today will be right up your alley.
Accessories? Oh, I'm so excited. Do you think they go with my outfit?
I'm not sure. I guess you'll just have to wait and see.
Catherine, do you remember how our show works?
You and Becca are going to share 2 objects from the Chapman Museum's collection with all of us at home.
That's right. The objects that we're sharing today are both primary sources. Do you remember what those are?
Yes! A primary source is an object used or created by someone in the past. They can be letters, photographs, artifacts, clothing, speeches, tools, and more. At the Chapman, there are primary and secondary sources stored in the archives of the collection spaces, and all of them help us learn about the past.
Excellent, Catherine. And for each object, we'll be sharing the time period it comes from, what it was used for, and any other interesting facts we know about it. We'll also give you some historical context, which is like background information. You'll want to use the historical context we give you, as well as your observational skills and prior knowledge, to try and guess what the object is or what it was used for. And with that, let's get started. So first, I want you to think about this question. What accessories are popular today? Now, an accessory is usually an item that complements or adds to an outfit. It might be a hat, a bag, sunglasses, jewelry, or something else. Think about what people use to accessorize today. Maybe they wear a special type of hat or jewelry, or they have something hanging off their backpack, or they carry a certain type of water bottle. If you'd like, write down your thoughts, and if you need more time, you can pause the video here. Now, both of today's objects come from a period in American history known as the Gilded Age. We've talked a lot about this period in previous episodes, but as a quick reminder, the Gilded Age took place between the 1870s and the early 1900s. It was a period of great economic growth, industrialization, and urbanization. Now, if something is gilded, it means it's covered in a thin layer of gold, and it hides what's underneath. And that's kind of what this time in history was like. Some people became very rich, but many others, especially immigrants and working class people, they had to work very hard and often in tough and unfair conditions to make that wealth possible. Now, both objects we're going to be sharing with you today would have likely been used by wealthy or upper middle class people. So, our historical context is going to focus on what life was like for people in those social classes. But if you'd like to learn more about life for immigrants and working class people during the Gilded Age, make sure to check out episode 2, Gilded Age Amusements. So, some very rich families from this period came from New York City, and they include the Vanderbilts, the Rockefellers, the Astors, and the Carnegies. And you might have heard some of these names before, like Vanderbilt University, Carnegie Hall, or the Rockefeller Christmas tree. And that's because these families gave a lot of money to help build libraries, schools, and museums, or they might have a building that's named after them. Here in Glens Falls, some of the wealthy families included the Crandalls, Shermans, Morgans, Prines, and Finches. And many of these families became wealthy during the Gilded Age thanks to the lumber industry, which we also talked about in a previous episode. These families had very opulent or lavish lifestyles. They often lived in large mansions and employed servants to do tasks like cooking, cleaning, driving, sewing, and more. They could afford summer homes, and they often traveled, particularly around Europe. Now, some families like the Astors and the Vanderbilts, they hosted large, extravagant balls or parties trying to outdo one another. It was very important to dress well if you were wealthy during the Gilded Age, and different outfits were worn at different times of the day or for different activities. And wealthy people sometimes changed their clothes up to 5 times a day to reflect this. That's a lot.
Too many.
Yeah. Yeah, I changed mine once, twice.
Once.
To know what they should wear, men and women looked at fashion plates or illustrations that showed the latest styles. For women during the Gilded Age, it was very fashionable to wear floor-length dresses, often with a bustle, which is an undergarment that helped add fullness to the back of the dress. During the day, women wore modest, long-sleeved dresses, sometimes called morning dresses. Now, if they were going out to visit friends, say for afternoon tea, ladies would always wear a hat and gloves, and they would sometimes carry a purse. Hats were especially fancy during the Gilded Age. They were trimmed with ribbons, lace, and feathers. And in fact, the hat you're wearing, Catherine, was modeled after hats worn by women during the Gilded Age.
It is? Well, good fashion never goes out of style. What about at night? What did the women wear then?
Well, evenings were much more formal. Women who attended dinner parties or balls during the Gilded Age wore elaborate gowns. These gowns could be made from expensive fabrics. Sometimes they had silk flowers and other embellishments. Evening gowns were short-sleeved and lower cut on the chest than day wear. Women wore long gloves that went over their elbows, as well as necklaces and earrings. Regardless if it were day or night, adult women always wore their hair up, very often in elaborate curls or braids.
Oh, that sounds so glamorous. What about the men? What did they wear?
Well, day wear from wealthy men during the Gilded Age was a morning suit. This included trousers or pants, a button-down shirt, a waistcoat, which is similar to a vest, and a jacket. It was popular for waistcoats and shirts to be made in bright colors. And just like women, if men were going outside, they would often wear a hat. Top hats were the fashionable headwear of the day for men.
Like my Zophers.
Yeah, his hat and outfit were based on menswear from the Gilded Age. Just like women, men's clothing was much more formal in the evenings. In the 1880s, tuxedos became popular for men to wear to events like dinners and balls. They usually paired their suits with bow ties and cufflinks. And facial hair on men was also very popular. Adult men typically kept beards or mustaches, as you can see on the fashion plate. So now that you have some historical context, it is time to look at our first object. Are you ready to show it off, Maureen?
I am.
All right.
Just get my gloves on.
All right. Always important to put those on.
And then our first object.
Ah. Oh. Oh, very long.
We can maybe see the full line.
Yeah. All right, so take a good look at our first object and think about what you notice. Think about the object's size, shape, color, the materials it might be made from, and see if you can read the words engraved on it. So up at the top, there's a little gold band. Yeah, see if we can read what's engraved on it. Now, if you'd like, pause the video and write down your observations.
Catherine, do you want to tell us what you notice?
Well, this object is long and narrow. It looks like it's made of wood. You know, it kind of reminds me of a steak.
Well, that's good, Catherine. What else do you notice about it? Here. What do you notice about it here?
Well, it's curved. Maybe that's the handle.
Excellent. So now that you've made some observations, let's use them to try and determine what this object might be. So to you at home, take a moment to think about what this object might be or what it might have been used for. And if you'd like, you can pause the video and write down your thoughts. So Catherine, we have a stick with a handle. So what do you think this object is?
Could it be a walking stick?
Yes, this is a walking stick from 1870, the very beginning of the Gilded Age. So most walking sticks or canes have three parts. The handle, which is what people hold on to.
Makes sense.
The shaft, which is the long section of the middle here. And then the ferrule, or the tip. And then this is the part of the walking stick that is going to make contact with the ground. So on our walking stick, the shaft is made from brown, polished wood. The ferrule also looks to be made out of wood. As you can see, it's pretty worn down, which tells us that this walking stick probably got a lot of use. And the handle, however, is made from ivory.
Oh.
Woo! Sounds fancy.
Well, you're right, Catherine. Ivory is a material that's been used for centuries in art, finished goods, jewelry, and more. And ivory comes from tusks, usually from elephants, and the teeth of certain animals. So if something is made from ivory, it's usually quite expensive. And throughout history, owning items made from ivory was a way of showing how wealthy you were.
So whoever owned this cane must have been wealthy if it had an ivory handle.
Excellent connection, Catherine, and you're right. So to help us determine who owned this walking stick, let's look at this little gold band just below the handle.
Okay.
So we'll hold that close.
Yeah.
And
there's an engraving on the band. Can you read what it says?
It says T.S. DeLong, October 7th, 1870.
Does the name DeLong sound familiar to you, Catherine?
Well, there's the DeLong house that's part of the Chapman Museum. Was this cane owned by one of those DeLongs?
Yes, great job, Catherine. This walking stick was owned by Theodore Sedgwick DeLong, who was the oldest son of Z.I. DeLong, the original owner of the DeLong house. So Theodore moved to Glens Falls in 1853, when he was about 14 years old, to work as a clerk in the Peck hardware store. Eventually, his father would take over the hardware store and rename it DeLong & Sons. Theodore and his family became wealthy following a major fire that swept through Glens Falls in 1864. Because Z.I. ran the hardware store, he was able to order and sell items needed by those looking to rebuild their homes and businesses. As an adult, Theodore worked in the hardware business with his father, but he would go on to become the director of First National Bank, the director of Glens Falls Insurance Company, and the director of Glens Falls Portland Cement Company.
A lot of jobs.
Very important. So all of these positions would have been high-paying jobs. So Theodore would have been in the upper middle class as an adult as well. Theodore married a woman named Carrie on October 7th, 1869. And Catherine, I want you to take another look at the engraving on the walking stick. So here, I'll hold it up again. What date do you see inscribed?
It says October 7th, 1870. That's a whole year after they got married.
Yes. So why do you think Theodore received this cane?
Is it to celebrate him getting married?
We think so. We don't know for sure, but we believe this cane was probably given to Theodore as a first anniversary gift, perhaps from his wife.
A walking stick is an interesting gift to give. Why did Carrie think it was a good present?
Well, walking sticks or canes were fashionable accessories for men during the Gilded Age. Some historians say the 19th century was the golden age of walking sticks, which means they were extremely popular. Walking sticks or canes had been used for centuries before the Gilded Age. Early humans used sticks or branches to help with walking, balance, and mobility, but over time they evolved into a way of showing how wealthy and powerful a person was. The more expensive your cane, the more money you had, and the higher your social status. During the Gilded Age, wealthy men carried walking sticks, typically made from wood, and these sticks could be decorated with precious metals or gemstones. Special handles made from ivory, silver, or gold could be added to the stick, and some men chose to have their walking sticks engraved with their names, initials, or important dates. Special types of walking sticks called gadget canes came with extra fun additions. Some had clocks built into the handle so you could always know the time. Others had mini shaving kits inside them in case you had to shave in a rush. And some even had spots to hold a lady's lipstick.
Wow! Sofer doesn't have one of those. Maybe they have a gadget cane that can hold your cheese. He'd like that.
I bet he would.
But what about accessories for women? Were there any of those during the Gilded Age?
Funny you should ask, Catherine, because our second object fits into that category. But before we share it, I wanted to give you just a little more historical context. Now, when we talk about immigration during the Gilded Age, we usually think of Ellis Island and people coming from Europe. And that is true. Millions of Europeans came to the United States during that period. But immigrants also came from other places like China and Japan. In the 1850s, thousands of Chinese immigrants traveled to California hoping to find gold. Many also worked to help build the Transcontinental Railroad. This job was very hard and dangerous, and they were not paid very much for their work. Like many other groups, Chinese immigrants were often treated unfairly. They faced discrimination and violence. Some Americans thought these immigrants were taking jobs or lowering pay and thought that the government should take action against this. In 1882, Congress passed a law called the Chinese Exclusion Act. This law stopped Chinese people from immigrating to the United States for 10 years. And it also said that Chinese immigrants already living in the US could not become citizens. Eventually, this law would be repealed or ended, but the Chinese Exclusion Act was the first major law restricting immigration in US history. Now, in modern times, Glens Falls has a connection to the country of Japan through our Sister Cities program. A sister city is a relationship or a friendship between two different cities, typically in different parts of the world. The city of Saga in Japan is a sister city to Glens Falls. Just about every year, students from Saga come to Glens Falls, or students from Glens Falls and Queensbury go to Saga. And they stay with host families, attend classes at local schools, go sightseeing, and learn about life in another country. And with that historical context, let's look at our second object. We are ready when you are, Maureen.
All right, I'm ready.
Oh. Okay. Ooh. So take some time to look at this object. Think about the object's size, shape, color, the materials it might have been made from. And just like before, you can pause the video and write down your observations if you'd like.
Oh, this is an easy one. This object's a fan.
Well, Catherine, you're right. This object is a folding fan from around 1890.
Ah.
So let's look at it closer to determine what it's made from and what else we notice.
Okay.
Well, the first thing I notice is the fan is black and has flowers on it.
Very good, Catherine. You can see the flowers here. This fan is made from black silk, and the flowers here are painted onto the silk. What else do you notice?
The sticks are black too.
Good. The sticks are probably made from wood, and they have a glossy black paint on them. You can see that on the back here too. But I want to point out the flowers again. Do they make you think of any places or cultures?
I think I've seen those flowers before in Chinese or Japanese artwork.
That's right, Catherine. The flowers painted on this fan were influenced by Asian art. So the folding fan actually originated in Japan around the 9th century and was later brought to China. Eventually, folding fans would be brought to Europe and then spread to North America. Now, during the Gilded Age, many wealthy people became interested in Chinese and Japanese art and style. So, wallpaper, dishes, vases, jewelry, fans, and more often had designs on them that featured nature scenes with flowers or birds that might be found in China or Japan. But folding fans weren't used just to cool you off. During the Gilded Age, women used them to send secret messages to people.
Oh.
What? Secret messages? Tell me more, girlfriend.
Well, folding fans were a popular accessory for women during the Gilded Age. Ladies brought their fans to dinners, balls, or parties. It was a practical accessory because it helped them stay cool under all those layers of clothing that they were wearing. But it also helped show their social status, much like walking sticks. Wealthy women had fans made from silk, satin, lace, or even delicate paper. Some had wooden handles like ours. Others had ivory or pearl. Fans could be painted, just like the one we're looking at. They often had popular designs that included things like flowers, landscapes, or even scenes depicting historical events. Some fans had feathers from ostriches or other large birds.
But what about the secret messages?
I'm getting to that, Catherine. So during the Gilded Age, etiquette or proper manners were very important. If people broke the rules of etiquette, they could be treated as outcasts, and they might not be invited to any more parties. During the Gilded Age, it would not have been proper etiquette for two young people to walk up to each other and say, "Hi, I like you. Want to dance?" Instead, they had to be much more discreet or secretive, and one way for a young woman to share her thoughts was through the use of her fan. All right, so we're going to show you what some of those actions look like. So to say yes, you would rest the closed fan on your right cheek. To say no, you would rest the closed fan on your left cheek. Now, if you wish to speak with someone who was across the room from you, you would hold the fan open and you would tap the top of it with your finger.
What about "I love you"?
Ooh, that's a good one, Catherine. To say "I love you," you'd keep your fan closed and then you would draw it across your cheek. And if you wanted to say, "Let's just be friends," you drop your fan. We're not going to drop the fan, but you get the point.
How would you say "Meet me at the cheese table"?
I don't think people in the Gilded Age said that, Catherine, but you and Zophyr could make up a secret signal like tapping your hat 3 times so you could talk to each other across the room. That way you wouldn't have to use words.
Oh, that's a good idea. You know, I love coming on this show. I always learn something new. I think I'm going to get Zophyr a walking stick for Christmas. I wonder if Finders Keepers has one. I should go check. Bye-bye.
All right, well, bye, Catherine. Nice seeing you. Guess she's off. Well, everyone, that was our final object for today. Maureen, thank you for sharing some more interesting items from our collection.
Anytime.
Very good. And now that you at home have had a chance to learn about a few of the objects in the museum's collection, we want you to create a piece of art that incorporates one of these objects discussed today. So you can draw a picture, you can write a story, you can come up with a song, a poem, or something else. And you can send your art to me at educator@chapmanmuseum.org along with your first name, and it might just be featured on our social media pages. So thank you for joining us today. Make sure you check back next month for another episode of From the Collection. Until then, have a great day, keep on learning, and make sure to visit us here at the museum. We have tons of cool stuff. Bye.